More than expected or what you were expecting? And is this game-changing for the industry or just incrementally positive?
Wilfred, it's a start, okay? So I think what today, the significance is we have the beginning of a national policy in the United States that can support renewable transportation, frankly. That's probably the most important thing. $174 billion, you know, that could buy a couple dozen, maybe 30, 40 gigafactories to make batteries. But it's just a drop in the bucket. I mean, wake me up at, you know, a couple trillion. We might need a couple trill just for EVs over the next decade. So it's a start. But there's a lot of unanswered questions from here. It gets gritty. It gets dirty. We got questions about grid integrity, storage, affordability, right? How we pay for this stuff. You throw in a megawatt in back of a Starbucks parking lot. I mean, there's a lot of devil in the details. It's a nice start. Let's build from here.
So does it make sense to you, Adam, that the EV stocks are getting a boost off the back of this, or not necessarily yet?
Look, in a market like this, sure, yeah, people are trading headlines, okay? It's a different discussion. Sure, right? I'd say there was a bit of a vacuum of expectations of what really could come out of this. And a lot of the progress we've made in the United States on EV adoption has been in spite of not really having a cohesive policy. And so it's all additive, Will, you got me? But I think, you know, how do we really get it done? I mean, I think that, you know, there's questions about gasoline tax. That clearly ain't going to work. So then there's discussions about vehicle miles traveled. And we think that governments eventually are going to go after fleets and work with shared mobility fleets, final mile logistics, things like that. So it's a nice start, but I think there's some risk that, yes, some of the stock price moves could just be a knee-jerk reaction. And we need to kind of be a bit more cautious about how this pans out over time.
ChargePoint is up 20%. They do the chargers. There's always been this question, Adam, about the EV future. I mean, the question is consumers, right? Are they not here because we don't have the infrastructure and therefore building the infrastructure like charging stations and what the government plans to do will bring the consumers or not? Because that's the missing link, which is pretty important.
I totally agree. I think it's a great point. And if you look back at a lot of big innovations in the United States that had taxpayer help, first, it wasn't just taxpayers. There was a lot of capitalism involved in this, too. And so, you know, the United States probably has to be turned into a damn construction site. And we might have the biggest public-private partnership in the history of business here, right, in the U.S. You know, that's the kind of stuff you're going to need to bring electrification and all the problems it's going to create, you know, some ESG problems along the way to really see it through. So yeah, I mean, you know, you mentioned some of these names. I think an interesting discussion. I think where there's a big blind spot is it's not really going to be retail like you and me that's driving the delta to 20 or 30% penetration. It's going to be businesses. It's going to be, you know, tech companies. I won't name specific names, that because they bring stuff to your door have an enormous impact on the environment and have a very large, maybe shockingly large carbon footprint. And they're in a position to benefit from that infrastructure, to leverage the taxpayer dollar, and to decarbonize a lot faster than waiting for people to use a charging station.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.